The red shirt. I've been skipping you because you asked one earlier, but.
All right, back on the farm and the milk problem here. Senator Schumer, I don't know, last week or so, talked about the point is, back in August, he tried to get some antitrust laws working to break down the cartel and the middleman coming along, and what are the problems between the cost of we're paying the farmer and what we're paying in the place. That is 3 months ago. Why can't the antitrust laws be a little better, or why weren't they working before this?
Yeah, and that is on the list of things I'm trying to get my hands around still. The honest answer is I don't know exactly how all that is working. I've talked to Chairman Peterson about it a little, I've talked to Senator Schumer about it a little, and my staff is still working to get a better handle on what's going on there. Not just the antitrust issues, but really what's going on in the marketplace and how that dynamic works. And my honest answer to you is I don't have enough knowledge to really give you a detailed answer on what's happening in there. Never supposed to say you don't know the answer, but sometimes I don't know the answer.
My question is about the antitrust too, but it has to do with the health insurance industry. Why are they exempt from the Fair Trade Act?
Nobody in this whole conversation has been able to tell me why.
And who's addressing it?
And in the House bill, well, we took away their antitrust exemption in the House bill.
I don't see it in the Senate. I haven't heard it yet.
I haven't checked that issue in the Senate bill, but that was in the House bill, and that was something I supported, even though obviously I voted no on the bill, but I did, that we should get rid of it.
Yep.
You agree?
The lady over there brought up the subject of the low loan percentage, of interest.
Low down payments, yep.
Now, the way it was outlined to myself and my wife by our investment banker was that what happened was the FHA made all the banks put everybody into one loan group. They had A, B, and C classification of people to loan money to. The A people were a very good risk. The B people were pretty good. The C people, they weren't any good at all. Now this is the way it was described to me, and this happened way before, I'll bet you were even born. This happened back in the late 70s, early 80s.
I was born. But
Can't take, you still can't take credit for that, Scott.
Now you're here, fix it.
This is, a lot of people want to not blame the government for this, but it was the government in the long run who caused this by pooling all these loans under one umbrella. And then the speculators took off after that. They were betting that a lot of money would be lost by the banks, and it did happen.
It's the law of unintended consequences. You create a right to home ownership, thinking it's a good thing, and you sell people houses who should never own houses. You think health insurance is a right, so you create a plan that's going to give everyone health insurance. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were as much to do with the collapse of Wall Street as any bad individual banker doing something nefarious. We created a market for mortgages that wouldn't have existed, and the government said, just loan them, we'll buy them, we'll securitize them, we'll buy them. We created a mandate to make a mortgage that didn't have a right to exist. We created a market that wouldn't have existed otherwise. We're going to do the same thing with health insurance. It's the law of unintended consequences.
Well, I think there's a difference, but I understand what you're saying, obviously, and I think that Fannie and Freddie were poorly regulated and poorly organized, and I agree with you that we shouldn't be trying to get people to buy a house with a 30-year mortgage that they're not in a position to be able to afford it. There's renting as part of our society. People rent, and that's a right place to be. I rented an apartment when that was in my place, where I was in life, and then when I was more stable, I had my wife and kids, and then I bought a house and signed up for a long-term mortgage. There's a place for both. I think home ownership is good. People take care of their communities when they own their homes. I think it's a good thing. But we will never and shouldn't be trying to get everybody to buy their own home because they're not in the right place in their life or they're not in the right place financially to be able to afford that. And I do think that it's a tried and true method to have a meaningful down payment as a deposit as part of it, that gives people that sense of ownership of their home because they've actually got money in it, and that's part of why they do take care of it and do make the payments and do the things that are good. So I think we need to stay there. It's called skin in the game. It's a good phrase, and it really does work in life. So we're going to run out of time. It's clear we've got everybody fired up, so hopefully they're all going to come to the town board meeting because there's lots of questions to work on here in the community. But let's take one or two more.
I got a question about, I haven't checked online to see this, but I would hope that your staffers have. We don't have any mystery ghost districts in New York State, do we, like Arizona and some of the states?
Mystery ghost districts?
Yeah, they had on CBS News where these districts were getting economic stimulus money and jobs for districts that didn't exist. It was in Arizona,
Yeah, did you know anything? I don't know anything about
The
this.
one thing is the recovery.gov website, okay? When municipalities or businesses get economic stimulus dollars, they are to fill out paperwork and electronically submit it to the recovery.gov website. If they mis-enter it or incorrectly enter it, it still gets entered. So if you are the town of, for example, Whitehall, and you say you're in the 37th congressional district in New York, it gets entered onto recovery.gov website. So it isn't, the government isn't entering it. These people, the municipalities are getting the grants, and what happens is the people entering it are putting incorrect information.
We don't
and
have
it's out
37
there.
districts in New York. That would be a phantom district.
So that's what happens. So people are entering bad information.
It's typos. Okay,
Yeah.
as opposed
That's
to
what
money that was sent off into space.
And you're speaking of Arizona. Right, yeah, and that's the point.
I won't swear, but I think generally, that story makes more sense as a typo. Last question right here.
All right, I got here a little late, so I don't know if the question was brought up. First place, I'm against the health bill because I don't think it can work. I think it's going to be too expensive. But if the health care bill passes, who's going to pay for it?
You are.
No. They said this morning that the rich are going to have to pay their fair share. But who classifies who is the rich? What level?
Sure. So the different bills have different ways to pay for things, but the threshold that's in a lot of them is if you make more than $250,000 a year, that's where some of the things would kick in. And then in the House bill, the big pay for on the House bill was if a couple makes over $1 million a year, then they pay 5% of anything above $1 million, and that's where they get most of the money to pay for, or the big chunk of the House bill. So different taxes in different ways, but those are two thresholds that are used for a lot of different things. That's helpful.
Well, yeah, kind of, but if it falls short, which it always does, then it's going to come back on the middle.
I just want to say one thing, that I know that this gentleman works at the prison, and so as a citizen of the county, I pay his health insurance. But as a farmer, nobody pays my health insurance. So I do think there is a role for government to equalize things here.
To the legislature.
So it makes my job hard. There's a lot of different opinions. Lou?
Just one, perhaps a clarification on this and who's going to pay. One segment only on Medicaid. With the expansion of Medicaid under the House reform, that will be passed on to the states, will then pass on their share down to the counties, and therefore the property tax owners in the counties will pick up a good burden of the expanded Medicaid.
So, I mean, there's thousands of pages here, so I didn't get into everything. One of the things that I think is a real problem in the House bill was that we pushed some of it to Medicaid to pay some of the costs, which is something that the states pay half of, and in New York, that's a quarter of it's paid by the county and a quarter is paid by the state, and that's one of the reasons our county taxes and town taxes are so high. We do not need more Medicaid. There's a lot of information. Thank you all so much for coming and spending this much time listening to me yap about, this and that and the other thing. Thank you for letting me represent you. It is a challenging job. It is really complicated, learning about a whole lot of new things, and I'm hopefully using my common sense that I'm trying not to lose to work on things. And I'm sure that no one in this room will agree with me on everything I do. You don't know this, but I voted like 650 times already, so I am positive that I've voted for something that would piss you off. But I'm almost positive that I probably voted for something you would appreciate.
Shouldn't be that many things to vote on.
That's a fair point.
Thank you.